Well, as a special edition of the At the Races Bloodstock Show, we've come over to Ireland to visit the world's leading stud. We're behind the scenes at Coolmore, a place that has produced countless Group and Grade 1 winners and is home of super sire Galileo. Today, Coolmore Stud is generally acknowledged to be the world's leading thoroughbred racehorse breeding operation. Situated in the heart of the Golden Vale, on some of Ireland's finest limestone land, Coolmore provides the perfect environment for breeding and raising thoroughbreds. The first son of Northern Dancer to stand at Coolmore was Be My Guest, who became champion sire in 1982 and launched Coolmore onto the world stage in the process. The next, though, was Sadler's Wells, who went on to be one of the most influential and famous stallions of all time. He was champion sire for 13 consecutive years, produced over 70 Group and Grade 1 winners, who performed all around the world on the biggest stage. But of all those superstars, arguably his most famous offspring is the now champion sire Galileo, who stands here at Coolmore and is regarded as the leading sire of his generation.
Minding, striding on now to the finish. Minding wins readily. They see the start pretty fully staked.
It's found at Ryan Moore. She's clear as she races towards the line. She gains a magnificent victory.
It's Gleneagles gonna win the Guineas for Ballydoyle. Australia wins. He joins in the elite group who've completed the double. It's another win for Ballydoyle.
Miller Springs bounces back in the men's run in great style.
At the age of 19, Galileo is still very much in the prime of his stallion career. But Coolmore are keen to make sure that they have stallions coming through to produce champions well into the future. This year they have 2 new stallions on the roster, and one of them is the son of the mighty Galileo, the Gurkha.
He's always coming here because he's our own horse and he's trained in Ballydoyle by Aidan O'Brien. But unfortunately he had colic surgery after he won the Sussex Stakes in late July, so we had to retire him a bit earlier than planned. Wasn't really fair to go on with him. So look, we're very excited to have him here. He's very much a Coolmore horse. He's by Galileo, who stands in Coolmore. He's out of a Danehill Dancer mare, who stood in Coolmore. He's out of a filly CHINTZ, who we bought as a yearling, and David Watchman trained, and she won a very good 2-year-old race up the Curragh. So he's very much a horse that we bred and we liked, and he was always coming here.
And the general consensus would be, or seemingly be, that we probably didn't see all of what we could have seen with him on the track because his career was cut short, basically.
Yeah, he was cut short. Like the French Guineas, which he won by 5 lengths, which is a long way to win a classic by, but that was only the 3rd race of his life. And then he was a little bit unlucky at Royal Ascot in the St James's Palace. But again, it was only the 4th race of his life. It was the first time he'd gone right-handed, first time he'd gone around the bend right-handed as well. So, you know, he was very much on a learning curve, and there's plenty of horses in his pedigree who did much better as they got older, so there was every reason to believe that this horse was only starting. And look, you know, we're only figuring them out. He was probably a much better horse on fast ground. Like his best run was probably his last run in the Sussex Stakes, which was on very good, very fast ground.
When did he arrive here at the stud, and what's sort of been the process with him? I find it really interesting, the whole getting a horse from being a racehorse to being a stallion is quite a transformation that happens over time.
Well, he went to feathered equine for surgery. He had colic surgery. He had to have surgery, so he came here from the clinic, and obviously there was a period of recuperation. So the guys here, they're very good, and they've slowly but surely built him back up again. And looking at him there today, you can see there's little or no evidence that he ever had colic surgery. He looks fantastic. Like his father Galileo, he's got a terrific temperament. You know, it seems to be a trait in the Galileo line that they have such good temperaments, and it helps them to be such good race horses. And as you can see, he's settled in here. He's a very straightforward horse to do anything with. And you know, the next stage from his covering mares, but we've already tested him at that, and it comes very naturally to him, you know. So he's very straightforward. He's got a good book of mares. He's going to cover a good book. We're going to breed a lot of our own mares to him because we like this horse a lot. He's got a good selection of mares from the Irish, English, French, and the international breeders. So it's a new phase of his career, and he's a horse we would be very excited about.
And do you feel that for a horse like the Gurkha, who obviously showed plenty of speed, but in his breeding has stamina as well, is he a horse that can really be very popular to a wide variety of breeders, or which sort of breeders and mares do you think he will get?
He'll suit a lot of mares. You know, he's obviously he's got speed, but there's stamina in his pedigree too. You know, and that's the perfect balance. You know, if it's just all speed, you know, they don't have the same usage, and it limits them. You know, like there's very few Group 1 races at less than a mile. And there's a lot of races north of a mile. So the more races that are open to a stallion's progeny, the better chance he has of being a very good sire. Like the classic races are the Guineas, the two Guineas for colts and fillies, the Derby, the Oaks, and the St. Leger. So if a horse is just speed, he's not going to have many featured in those proper races. You know, we're delighted to have him. Like, we have Galileo here, who's probably the best stallion in the world at the moment, probably the best stallion we've ever had. And we're lucky we've two Derby winners here by Galileo. We've got Australia and Ruler of the World, and we've two Guineas winners here by Galileo. We've got, which are Glen Eagles and The Gurkha. So we're lucky to have them, and we've got Churchill in the pipeline, who's just been announced as champion Giro in Europe. So, like, we're sitting here in the legacy of Coolmore, the legacy gallery, and we would see these horses coming along as the legacy. You know, these are the horses we're hoping will provide the future stars in Ballydoyle and the future stars here at the stud. When Galileo, who's 19 now, when he gets older and naturally retires, you know.
There is no doubting who the star of the show is here at Coolmore. Galileo has produced classic and Group 1 winners in abundance, has topped the leading sire table for the last 7 years, and some would say that his offspring are still getting better. But what is it like to look after one of the world's best stallions? No one knows this genuine super sire better than the staff here at Coolmore.
He has a great character. He's a very easy horse to do anything with. His temperament, he's so quiet, you know, he takes everything in his stride, so it makes our job very easy.
And do you think that he kind of knows he's the star? He gets a lot of extra attention.
Well, he definitely gets the extra attention, so I'm sure he does in his own mind. He thinks he's the star for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, 19 years old now and still looking literally $1 million. You must be very proud of the way he looks. It's your care that's got him here, I suppose.
Well, he's been a very healthy horse. He had, you know, one health scare in his life, and that was it. You know, and after that, he's been a very healthy horse. He does everything that's needed of him. He eats up well, he exercises well, and in the covering shed, he's very quick to cover. So he's easy on himself. You know, he's a very, very easy horse to handle.
What are his kind of joys in life? The things he really looks forward to? Is he a good eater or a good is he keen on his exercise?
He likes going to the covering shed, definitely. That's his number one. And then he likes his food as well. He likes going for, he's hand grazed every day as well. So he likes getting out the paddock for a graze as well.
Australia is one of the two Galileo sired Epsom Derby winners standing at Coolmore. And it is an exciting time for him, having seen his first crop of foals go through the ring last year. But now it's a case of looking forward to them developing as yearlings.
Very popular stallion, been very well received by both domestic breeders in Ireland, from England, France, Italy, Germany and around the world. You know, he's got real international appeal. High profile stallion, as you say, by Galileo. 6-year-old now already, amazingly, with the first yearlings, which we'll look forward to seeing at the sales this autumn. Settled in nicely to his new career, standing this season at €35,000. Yeah. Exciting stallion.
And do you find at this time of year for a stallion like him, who's just right at the very beginning of his breeding career, is it nervous times now for him with the sales later on in the year?
Yeah, obviously we've got to see how they're received. The indications were good at the sales last year, at the December sales, as we speak, in November, December, at Tats and Goffs. His foals, those that went to auction, were received very well. And hopefully they'll progress into nice yearlings, you know. Obviously, being by Galileo out of top-class race mare Ouija board, he's got a very exciting future, we think.
And in terms of the book of mares that he's been sent so far, you must be very pleased with that. He seems to have had some nice ones. Yeah,
could not be happier, you know. Equally top-class breeders selecting this horse to use, which is the most important part of setting a stallion on his future career.
So up here in the stallion yard at Coolmore is a who's who of equine talent, and Tony is stallion manager. And Tony, just tell us, at this time of year, what's the sort of stallion's routine for all of these guys?
Well, at this time of year, obviously with the weather, we don't leave them into the paddocks as much, so they're all hand exercised. Each horse is different. They get 15 to 20 minutes lunging each, and then a walk for about 45 minutes. We've a fully enclosed 2-mile walkway in the woods. They get walked in hand, and then back to their stable. They cover their mares then later on in the year.
And they're sort of at this stage getting just fit for that covering season.
That's it, yeah. We make sure that they're ready. They are athletes and it's a tough job, so we make sure they're fit before they get there.
And stood here outside Galileo's box, he's pretty relaxed in there, just having a nice munch. Do you feel the pressure kind of looking after such equine talent?
You would if you didn't have the team you have behind you. So it's the people that are here know the horses better than they know themselves, so it's easy that way, yeah.
How many of you are there actually?
There'll be, when we're in full flight, we'll have 12 staff here in the yard. Yeah. Looking after 15 working horses.
And how long have you actually been here then?
I've worked for Coolmore for 21 years. So, yeah, a long time.
So you really do know the place inside out?
Like the back of my hand, yeah.
And come on, if you had to pick your favourite stallion standing here today, who would it go to?
I'd have to go to Camelot, just for his personality and character. He's amazing, yeah.
What makes him so special? What makes him so amazing?
Just the way he looks around the place and looks at every other horse in the place, that he is the boss, and that's how he sees himself. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And do any of the others have any sort of notable or funny characteristics?
No, there's some of them. As I say, they're all different and they all have their own little quirks in different ways, but he'd be the most, kind of the way he just presents himself, like he owns everything.
And finally, it must be really nice for you, if you've been here 21 years, to be able to see these stallions here, standing here today. But you must have seen some of them when they were actually born and when they've gone off into training and won derbies and the whole story. Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to have broken in Australia and Camelot as yearlings when they arrived back to the farm, and then to watch them race and now look after them back here. So it's a privilege. It's pretty special, hey? Very special, yeah, very special. And they're two very special horses, so it's good. It's good to see. Did you know back then? I mean, obviously it's very hard to say that you knew that they were going to go on and do what they did, but were they sort of standouts even then? Camelot definitely was a standout back then. Even he still carried himself the same then as he does now. He was always in charge. Yeah. And Australia was just such a quiet, easy look after horse that he would just, all he wanted to do was please. He'd do anything you wanted him to do, so he was always going to go on and do something, because he's just so kind. Do whatever you want him to do. Another stallion that is new to the roster here at Coolmore for 2017 may not be the most familiar of names with some, but Pride of Dubai made a big impression as a 2-year-old in Australia and is an international acquisition with a big future.
It's Pride of Dubai lifting in the sires, and Pride of Dubai will go on and win it.
Remus storming up to Pride of Dubai. They come down to fight it out. They hit the line. Pride of Dubai just held on and won.
He's come from Australia. There's very much a trend at the moment to bring up the speed horses from Australia. Like your viewers are probably familiar with the Star Spangled Banners and the Schwaziers and Takeover Targets, etc. You know, those very black caviars. Like, there's definitely Australia seems to have some extremely fast horses. Their racing program is geared towards that. And he's a horse that was bred by Sheikh Khalifa Al Maktoum, who keeps his mares in Coolmore, Australia. So the horse was actually reared in our farm. And he was one of the top 2-year-olds in Australia. He won 2 Group 1 races at 2. He won the Blue Diamond over 6 furlongs at Caulfield, which is in Melbourne. And he won the Sire's Produce Stakes over 7 furlongs at Randwick, which is in Sydney. Now, he's the first horse ever to do that double. At 2 years, it's never happened before. So it just shows you what a really good 2-year-old he was. Pedigree-wise, he has an international pedigree. He's by Street Cry, who stood in America but was bred in Europe. And then his dam line, he's over a mare by Dane Hill, but the mare is a half-sister to the dam of Kodiak and Invincible Spirit, which would be 2 of the best-known stallions in Europe. So while he raced in Australia, he has a lot of European elements in his pedigree. He's very much English-Irish elements, and he also has American elements. And that's the way our world is developing. It's an international world now, and horses move around a lot more than they used to. Now, China Horse Club have bought into the horse with us. You know, they're one of the biggest international buyers and racing people now. So they will be supporting him. And Sheikh Khalifa has at least a dozen mares coming to the horse, so he'll be supporting him. So that's the new world we're in, and it's an exciting world. And we're delighted to have this horse because he's an outcross, pretty much. So we have a lot of Sadler's Wells line mares, Galileo line mares around here, so he's obviously a very interesting horse for them. But it also gives the Irish-English breeders a chance to use a very high-class 2-year-old from the part of the world where they probably have the fastest or the most speed racing at the moment.
And on that topic, I mean, this need to breed for speed seems to be getting more and more popular at the moment. Was that the thinking behind bringing him up here, I suppose?
Partly. But again, like most of these horses, most of the good stallions have an element of stamina in their pedigree, and he has some stamina in his pedigree. You know, if we just keep breeding speed on speed, you might end up with nothing, you know. Yeah. We've always had the balance here, you know. He's out of a Danehill mare. We've had a lot of Danehill over the years, like Danehill won a July Cup. But he was a horse with a pedigree, you know. He was from the family of Northern Dancers. So we feel it's very important to balance speed and stamina. We're not all into one or the other. We feel it's important. And particularly if one is breeding for racing, you know, which is the most important thing at the end of the day, is racing. That's what it's all about. You know, so many races are not at a short distance. So we have to produce those horses for those races, and there's huge prize money for those races. And I think racing would be very boring if we just had speed races. Like, do we want to go racing and watch 6 or 7 sprints? I think people enjoy watching the variety of distances, and that's the great thing about English racing and Irish racing, but English in particular. There's such a variety of distances. As the breeding industry as a whole needs to produce horses for those races, and it would be foolish not to produce horses for those races.
It's not just the stallions that are superstars here at Coolmore, because of course they have superstar mares as well, and we've been lucky to see a few of them this morning. Kevin, just run us through exactly who we saw so far this morning.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of mares and foals. Firstly, we saw a 1,000 guineas winner Homecoming Queen with her colt foal by Galileo, who was born on the 16th of January, so only 10 days old today, and following her was La Traviata, who of course is the dam of 7th heaven, with her colt foal by Galileo, also born on the 16th of January. So 2 exciting foals out of some very exciting broodmares.
2 totally different types though, or what we saw, you know, different markings, different stamps, but both just, you can already tell how classy they're going to be.
Absolutely, you know, the Homecoming Queen is a cheeky little chap, if you will, a little bit smaller than La Traviata's foal at this stage. Equally, we all remember Homecoming Queen. She's not a big mare, yeah. But, you know, there'll be lots of improvement in that foal, and he's an exciting little chap. And
we were very lucky to see one of Gleneagles' first foals on the ground.
Yeah, there have been a few that we've heard of. Jimmy Murphy from Rapenda Stud reports of a very good foal he had recently in the last week or so. But from the point of view of here in Coolmore, you've just seen the very first foal by Gleneagles born here. Born, quite ironically, as the first 2 foals I mentioned earlier, on the 16th of January as well. But this time, a filly by Gleneagles out of Ban Empire. That's a very exciting foal from what we both saw in the paddock there. Loads of quality, nice walk, all the attributes you'd really wish to see at this stage. So exciting times by an incredibly high-class miler.
James, you're one of the assistant managers here at Coolmore, and we've come down to one of the mare barns. Just tell us who, first of all, we've got walking behind us there.
First of all, we've got Lily Langtry in front, with Red Evie behind. Lily Langtry is the dam of Minding. She'll be visiting Galileo again this year, and Red Evie is the dam of Found, and she'll also be visiting Galileo.
So it's safe to say some pretty impressive horse flesh there.
No, definitely. They're 2 of a kind, all right. They're fantastic broodmares to be around, great temperament, and privileged to work with such stock.
And obviously at this time of year you've got some mares that are foaling and we're getting into covering season. Just tell our viewers, what is the kind of routine for the mares here at the stud at this time of year in January?
Okay, in January realistically the Baron and Maiden mares, they go out daily from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 3:30 in the evening. They'll then be stabled under lights. They need 16 hours of lights to help them cycling in their stables. Mares and foals typically at this time of year would be going out for 2 to 3 hours. If we have a nice day, obviously a bit longer, but each individual is treated as an individual, and the best possible daily routine for them to be turned out as possible. Foals are all individuals, and we have to treat them regarding strength and condition and everything, but realistically we try and turn out them for them as long as possible, so therefore at the end of the day, out on pasture, bone development is crucial to their progress in order to produce the Group 1s, which we have done in the past.
And I mean, just finally, looking at these two mares here, I mean, they seem pretty quiet now, but there must be a sort of pressure that comes with looking after such incredible horseflesh, really.
There is pressure to an extent, but we treat them all as individuals and all the same at the same time. They have the highest top quality care possible, and at the end of the day, they are just a pleasure to be around.
And finally, do you have a favourite?
I do indeed, and you might be seeing her quite shortly up at the other barn, Mecca's Angel.
We're lucky enough to see the three relatively new mares to the farm here, recently retired from the racetrack. I mean, we'll start with Mecca's Angel, I suppose. She is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, isn't she? You know, she's a real star, and she's settled in here very nicely indeed. She, of course, has been penciled in to visit Galileo this season, so she's just going through the routine under lights at night, so on and so forth, hopefully cycling into next month in view of an early cover from February the 14th onwards.
And then the other two are both Ballydoyle inmates, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I must say, on Mecca's Angel is so exciting. Of course, she was a dual winner of the Coolmore Stud Stakes, a race we've had close association with for the past 10 years at York. And then, of course, we've got Ballydoyle was the second filly we saw, who, of course, was second in the Moyglare as a 2-year-old, second in the English Guineas, in both cases to Minding, and, of course, a Group 1 winning 2-year-old in France in the Marcel Boussac. She's back from training now, obviously settling in as with Mecca's Angel, and she will be visiting the very exciting stallion Fastneck Rock, Dane Hill's son, who we also stand here in Tipperary. Along with her we saw Evensong, who of course is last year's Ribblesdale winner at Royal Ascot. She's a daughter of Master Craftsman, who we stand here. Of course, Master Craftsman, very proven sire of Kingston Hill and the Grey Gatsby to name but two. And she's obviously very closely related to Simple Verse. She too will visit Galileo this season.
I mean, just there we saw such a small snapshot of what is an incredible broodmare band here at Coolmore.
Yes, it's, you know, an incredible broodmare band, both of our in-house mares, if you will, visiting mares, permanent boarders. We see a lot of very high-profile names coming through the stud, thankfully, to visit the wide array of stallions we have here standing at stud behind us.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you're seeing all those horses be shown in front of you, not just to take for granted what you're seeing, because in any other stud farm, those Group 1, Group 2 winners would be absolutely pride of place. But here, I mean, we just saw three there and then. Yeah,
it's just, we're just so privileged, to be honest with you. That's the only word I can do to describe it.
And in terms of the homebred mares that are here, it seems like that band is now getting bigger and bigger, and we see these classy mares retiring from the track and coming here. I mean, they must have huge numbers here now.
Yeah, it's a broodmare band which is on the increase, most definitely, because thankfully we've been most fortunate to race a lot of these wonderful daughters of Galileo, etc., which ultimately, unfortunately, have to retire from the track one day, but they then in turn have a nice life here and retiring as broodmares to Coolmore.
I hope you've enjoyed a snapshot look behind the scenes at one of the most famous studs in the world. A place that breeds, rears and nurtures champions of the past, present and hopefully long into the future.